Hello, CEOs. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Bridget. I am delighted today that I have two of my sister girls that are here with me today. Two girls who are very close and near and dear to my heart. I have my sister Felicia and my sister Yamika. Felicia, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
And Yamika, tell everybody where you're from.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes. So this group right here, the circle, girlfriend trip, they call it Flossy Posse. If you've seen the movie, what are we? Just Posse. All right. So Felicia and I have known each other for like almost 20 years. Has it been almost 20 years? Over 20 years.
A little over 20 now.
Yes. Yeah. And I tell you, this roller coaster ride has been something else. And Yamika, we're coming up on almost 8. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. About almost 8 years. So this is my traveling group. This is the group that we laugh,
yes,
we cry,
yes,
we fuss,
we do,
but we love on each other. And most importantly, we have such a unique bond. When you agree, that it's kind of hard to put it into words. I mean, it's like an unspoken bond, unspoken loyalty
I would agree.
To each other. You know, like we're there for everything. You know, in each other's lives, even if we can't physically be there. We're there connected with each other. This group text be blowing up, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Listen.
Boy, doesn't it?
What? Listen. So today's episode, ladies, first of all, I'm glad that you both are here. This is our Sister Girl weekend, and what perfect time for us to really just share with each other, and for people that know us to see another side of us, to see the side of us beyond the glitz and the glam and the makeup, and see us beyond the work that we do, but also get a chance to look at our normal lives. So today's episode, we're going to talk about life after loss.
Oh boy.
Yes. For each of us, we've lost someone very special, someone very significant to all of us. And if we be honest, it was a struggle.
Some days it still is a struggle.
Yeah. This is true. And, you know, it's very hard. You have your good days, you have your bad days. And I would say that I don't think it ever gets easier. It just becomes manageable, but it becomes manageable. I know for me, like after I've gone through like a certain period of time, it doesn't just happen right away. So talking about life after loss, so March will make 3 years that I've lost my dad, and every time there is a holiday coming up, or my dad's birthday, or me and my brother hanging out. You know, my brother looks like my dad, but acts like my mom. I look like my mom, but I act like my dad. And it's just like little things, you know, from the brother-sister bond that happens, and you think, Dad, I wish Dad was here to see this, you know. So, you know, I'm coming up on 3 years. I can't believe it's been 3 years since, you know, my dad is gone. But for me, my coping mechanism has been work. So anytime anything tragic or life-altering happens in my life, I throw myself into work. Because if I throw myself into work, it becomes my way of escape. Not that it makes it better, but I can escape the time for a moment. So Felicia, you know, share with us, you know, how do you cope after losing someone, and share with us, you know, about somebody you've lost.
It's coming up on actually 13 years when I lost my, I would say my soulmate, my college sweetheart, and we were actually engaged to be married, and he passed on our wedding date that we had set. And so I agree with you. I threw myself into my career, into ministry. Just finding a lot of positive things to do. I do a lot of outreach and a lot of giving back. I found that being able to start a cancer event in his honor every year, that helps me to really cope and to kind of move forward with the situation. And I agree, it just becomes manageable. And even at 13 years, I still struggle some days with the coping and the what ifs and those things, but it's manageable. It's manageable. And so I'm at the place now of peace of what has transpired, and taking what looked negative at that time to turn it into something very positive, to where I'm reaching out to the community with cancer a lot and giving a lot back that way. So it helps me in being able to cope, knowing that I'm giving back something to someone else, telling them some of the life lessons that I had during that time, to help someone else cope with the situation.
So Mika, this is still fresh for you.
I like it.
I know this is still fresh for you.
Yeah.
And I knew this was going to be hard, but I think not only do our viewers need this, we needed this, and so we wanted to share this. So Mika lost her dad. It's been
just a little over 4 months.
4 months now, and I know that it's still hard. It's going to be hard. But you still have such great memories about your dad. Bishop T.A. Body.
Yes, God.
Bishop T.A. Body.
Yes.
Dr. T.A. Body.
Bishop Body.
Yes. Tell my viewers who your dad not was, but is.
My dad is still. It's difficult to talk about him in the past tense still. My dad was a psychologist first, a traveling evangelist second, and then he became a pastor to the city of Atlanta, essentially. And for 34 years, he pastored in Atlanta. And he was, I say to people when I talk about him now, he was the biggest little man that anybody ever knew. He was 5'9", but when you saw him, although he was very unassuming, you knew greatness was in the room.
Yes.
And he was brilliant. We talk about when you hear other preachers talk about him, even at his homegoing services, they talked about this being a man that who knew a little bit about everything. He could tell you how to fix a car and then tell you about hermeneutics and how to exegete the word. And he was just, he was a fantastic man in that way. He was a great father. And he was an excellent husband, and he was one of the best friends that I had. And when he passed away in September, my mom and I had a conversation, and I said, I'll never be the same again because nobody loved me like my dad. And she said, girl, are you crazy? I'm your mom. And I said, yeah, but Daddy and I were square pegs. And he understood me. And so I'm still in the learning process. Lost a lot. I've lost a brother, a sister, and loved ones in recent years. I actually just lost someone who's so very close to our family that we were like cousins, and we grew up saying we were cousins. And he passed away just the other day. His memorial services today. So we've been experiencing a lot lately, and so now we're in the process of making sure that ministry still happens, and I would agree that work has helped. But also, and I shared this with Felicia the other day, it helped me to just be quiet. I had to just, be quiet for a little while because I realized that I was emotional, but I also knew that I didn't want to be offensive in my emotions to anyone else, and I also didn't want to come off as being hostile.
Right.
And so there was a period where maybe about a month and a half that I got quiet.
Well, we have to give ourselves permission to take those moments.
Yeah.
You do.
I think that a lot of times we don't. And I think I can tell you the mistakes I made. Mistakes I made, I jumped right into work, I jumped into this mode, and then I didn't realize that 5 years later, I hadn't taken a moment, and then I had a breakdown.
Right.
You know, so we have to give ourselves permission
Right.
to take those moments.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's silent moments, sometimes it's breakdown moments, but you have to give yourself permission to take those moments.
Right, you have to give yourself permission to take those moments, and most importantly, you have to take out some time to really sit somewhere, get empowered. You have to get strengthened, and you have to connect with people that can hold you up. Because during this process, you are depleted. You're depleted mentally. You're depleted emotionally,
Yes.
and I would go so far as to say you're depleted spiritually. Even though we're believers and we hold on to the Word of God and we live by the Word of God, but even the strong need strength.
Yeah.
And so during this process, the strong people need other strong people to hold them up.
Right.
And most importantly, don't let them go.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to really hold on to somebody, but you can't let them go because their emotions are on a roller coaster. So one day I feel great. The next day I feel like everything is just falling apart.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to hold on, be strong for them and strong with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Being strong for them means that, okay, I'm holding you up, but being strong with you means I can help you navigate the waters.
Well, and you
so I
can't be
think that is
afraid.
like so important, right? You can't be afraid.
You can't be afraid to reach out to others.
Right.
When I get to a place of stress or a place of in my emotions, I become withdrawn to myself. But you have to, and I learned in my mistakes that I needed other people. I needed other resources, and I probably would have been better. Probably would have been further in my healing process if I had a support system that I allowed to come in. Whether it was, my family supported me, but sometimes you have to go to a therapist or you have to go to those resource
And that's
groups.
key. That's key.
To talk about, because see, those people have gone through what you've gone through, so they understand and they can relate. So that's one thing I would definitely say where I made a mistake at, and that we need to as a community know that it's okay to go talk to somebody.
Right.
Sometimes you just gotta talk it out.
Absolutely.
You know.
So I want to hit on two things you just said about the therapist, because I believe that it is important for us to say we need help.
Yeah.
It's important to tell somebody that you need help, because when we don't tell people that we need help, we're closing off resources, and we're also slowing down the process of us healing, because we're harboring and holding things into ourselves. And then the second thing is that learning from your mistakes. I think sometimes that when we learn from our mistakes, we keep the learning tactics and tools to ourselves. When you learn from your mistakes, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to allow people to see you cry.
Right.
It's okay for people to see that you hurt. So just before we wrap up, I have two more things I want to talk about. The first thing is that, so I know for me, I found out my dad had cancer in January, and my dad was already in stage 4 when we found out he had cancer. And so in March, I was burying my dad. And I think over and over in my mind, because I've been in the healthcare profession over 25 years, in my mind I'm thinking, had I known earlier,
I could have gotten this.
I could have gotten some help.
Sure.
I've worked at the best cancer research. Had I known earlier, Dad, I might have gotten you in to see the best doctors. And so I replayed that over and over in my mind. Y'all know, I was bitter. I was very bitter with my family. I was bitter with my dad's siblings. because I felt like had I known this, it was something that I could have done. And so now I replay in my mind over and over and over again. Now I'm no longer bitter, I'm no longer angry, but I replay in my mind over and over again, you know, maybe I could have done something to, you know, help the process of taking care of someone terminally ill.
So, but can I just say this? Your dad died in March 6th.
Yes.
So, one of the things that my mom and I talk about a lot of times, because she does say, what if? What if we had done this? What if we had done that? What if we could have done it? And my dad had some years to go through his illness before he passed away. And one of the things that I say to her is this, and she says it back to me as well. Bible says it's appointed unto every man.
This is true.
A time to die. Your dad's appointed day, whether he had had the best health care in the world,
That's right.
or he had not had it, was March 6th. And so that's the way that I'm able to reconcile some of the other things, because September 15th, whether dad had taken the medicine for the myasthenia gravis or had the bone marrow transplant, he was still appointed September 15th, 2017.
Let me stop you right there. You're exactly right. Because I was a caregiver for 5 years. And he had all of those things. He had stem
my dad
cells.
too.
He had the bone marrow transplant. And he still, April 15th was still his appointment.
And you're so right. And so that is what helped me. So I'm not bitter, you know, I'm not angry. I had to learn that. And so I'm so grateful that I learned that. So before we wrap up, what kind of advice would you give to someone who is now, you know, going through the process? Or someone who had, I tell you what, Felicia, what kind of advice would you give to someone who is going through the process of taking care of someone terminally ill now?
As I said before, we always have to take moments, and even as a caregiver, because people, and I told you that you have to give yourself to take moments and believe and know that you've done all that you can do. And if you step away a moment, even if they leave in that moment, you've done your part. There's no guilt. Take your moments, because if you're not healthy spiritually, physically, mentally, you're not going to be able to help them. So always take your moments. Always reach out to resources. And that was one of the reasons as well why I started the cancer event, because one of those days we have a caregivers day where we're introducing them to other caregivers to help create resources and a sense of support, a support system, because it's tough. It's tough when you hear them breathe and you jump up because you're not sure. And it becomes very taxing. So you have to give yourself permission to cry. Give yourself permission to be angry. Give yourself permission to say, I don't want to do this anymore. Even though you do. I think it's so important, and you can't forget who you are in the midst of doing what it is that you're doing, because sometimes we get so caught up that we forget us.
That's right. So y'all know we can talk all day. I gotta wrap this up. All right. So So Mika, what kind of advice would you give to someone who has just lost someone close to them?
I would say allow yourself the opportunity to, as we say today, be in the moment. Feel that moment. It's okay to feel the way you feel. It's okay to feel, it's okay to be angry with God. It's okay to question God. It's okay to feel how you feel about your family or extended family. My advice to someone who's recently lost someone is, even if you're not the most eloquent writer, is to begin journaling if you never have. Write your feelings and your emotions down. Because it's a good way to be able to express yourself.
All right, so we do this at the end of every episode of Coffee with Bridget. And y'all know, we cheers.
Yes, we do.
So I want to say thank you so much, ladies. Thank you. Listen, thank you so much. Yeah, so we'll continue our Sisters Weekend. Thank you for coming on Coffee with Bridget. And now let's continue this Fearless and 45. And before we wrap up, y'all, don't we look cute? This is Sister Weekend. What?
It's still my birthday.
We came all the way through today.
Yes, we did.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.